mean, I don't really know what to. Speaking of petty, Chris Rock.
Ooh, I was gonna say good segue. I was trying to think like speaking of corny, you know what was corny?
Petty.
Petty is better.
Chris Rock's live special happened last week. It's called Selective Outrage.
And it was the first Netflix live streamed event.
Yep. Okay. Cramp in my leg. So,
it was Netflix's first live streamed event.
Hosted by, I think it's in conjunction with their brand, Netflix is a Joke.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, he did his live show. A lot of people said, I'll preface this by saying, for anyone who did go see him while he was touring, or has seen him while he is touring, because I think he's still touring, but a lot of people said that this was largely the show that he's been touring with a few edits, namely the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith stuff.
Yes.
So we've both seen it. What'd you think?
Okay, before we get to that, that's a lot of people's criticism that this was the same stuff he did on the tour. Mm-hmm. I just would like to say to those people, that's what happens when people do tour? Specials. They go to a tour date, and it just so happened, hey, this one's the special. It's the tour. It's the same thing. Even in Eddie Murphy Raw, which is one of the biggest and still record-breaking numbers of tickets sold comedy specials, he says in the beginning of the film, hey, I just want to let y'all know, all this lights and shit in here, yeah, they recording. So all of y'all gonna be on my special. But only I'm getting paid for the motherfucker. Okay. They just showed up. People didn't come to the quote-unquote special.
Right.
It was just, hey, such and such comedian is coming to our city and we bought tickets. That's it. So the people criticizing that this was the same material, well, then you didn't need to watch the Netflix special because that's what was going to happen. Like,
but that's
comedians
also a
tour. Right.
Even for a musician, even for a Beyonce, I know I've heard that she switches it up. Like, she has her, way of switching it up so that every show might not be exactly the same. But they rehearse the same choreography. They do the same songs.
It's the same show.
It's the same show. That's what a tour is. That's why you can see the tour in Atlanta and I can see the tour in New York, and we saw the same show.
Yeah.
We didn't see the exact same show, but we saw the same show. That's a tour. That's anybody's tour. Right. So I don't think that should be a criticism. The only reason I'm pointing it out is because again, I think that some people who did see it were like, oh, I didn't end up watching the whole thing because I realized it was the same. And that's understandable. I think it was worth it for those people to watch it, to see what they missed. Right. But I wasn't one of the people who saw it before, so it was all new to me and, was what it was. Now, what did you think?
It was okay. I don't have much to say. There wasn't anything special about it. Mm-hmm. He waited until the end to give us what we tuned in for. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it live. I saw it afterwards, which everybody was like, oh, I have to watch it because I don't know if it's going to be available. Y'all are dumb. Like, they suckered y'all because a Netflix, if you know anything about Netflix, is Netflix going to keep some shit on their platform. Unless you're Dave Chappelle and you're their number one cash cow, they ain't removing shit. So, yeah. It did great numbers streaming, and they bamboozled y'all because it was available right after on the platform. So I watched it, not live, and there wasn't shit special about it. Like, I have watched other Chris Rock stand-ups. This was not his funniest stand-up. This was not his best stand-up. There was a lot of weird stuff. Like, he kept saying okay after all his jokes. Why do you need to keep saying okay after all your jokes? It made me feel like your jokes are not really landing. Mm-hmm. Something was up with his shirt. He kept touching his shirt at some point. Like, I don't know if it was like...
I think he might have had a wardrobe malfunction or something. And when something like, I don't know, your button falls off or something like that, and...
You're conscious of it?
You're very conscious of it for the rest of the night. I also know I mentioned to you that I know that when people perform, especially I notice with some comedians, is Dave Chappelle has his stuff too. I can't remember right now what it is, and sometimes I think it's even when he's smoking his cigarette, like they do certain things to focus. So he was even doing things with his fingers. I think it helps them remember their jokes too. So I didn't know if that was that or if it was a wardrobe malfunction. The reason I say it could have been a wardrobe malfunction is because when you look at the way his shirt was buttoned, it looked like it wasn't buttoned. It looked like they almost had to like clasp it together in some way. So that might have been why maybe normally he keeps his shirt open, but maybe there was a reason they had to close it. I think it might have been something like that.
Yeah. It was
That's
weird.
What I assumed.
Nah, I don't disagree. I just don't know what it was, but that kept catching me off guard. Like I even rewound it a few times because I'm like, did he touch his shirt again? He touched his shirt mad times. Yeah. So I don't know what it's about. Maybe it's what you said. I don't know. But that stood out to me more than the jokes, to be honest. I'm like, wow, this dude really touching his shirt the whole hour and change. Like, it's interesting. The special was cool.
I just wanted to go back real quick to your talking about the fact that it was live and people watching it live versus watching it when it shows up. So I watched it live because I worry that when television is live that it'll get edited before they post it, right? So that was my reason for watching it live. I didn't want to wait and then miss something that they felt they might have needed to take out in progress, because that happens even with award shows. Actually, that happens.
Absolutely.
Where you watch it, like let's say maybe you did catch the live stream or maybe you did catch a live moment and then you try to go back to it later on and look at it on demand, and they take out some of those pieces of the show. Absolutely. Sometimes maybe not for Netflix, but sometimes when it's on regular television it's because they're also modifying it to fit ads and things like that. But I was concerned because I'm gonna be real honest, and you know this already, like I'm not a stand-up comedy girl. I don't care for it. Like I could watch it, I could not. I tend to take recommendations from the people I know who do like stand-up comedy, but outside of that, I don't really, it's not something that's a priority for me. So like I watched it because of that, or else it wasn't going to be something that I would have run to. I also, do 2 podcasts, so I figured
content.
This is something that I needed to know about because this was going to be something that everybody was going to be talking about, right? So, right. Just wanted to point that out because that was my concern, that they were going to edit it down and it wasn't going to be the exact same show that people who saw it live got.
Got you. Yeah, I don't have much to say. I think that the Will Smith jokes were not funny. They were not great, I should say, because some of them were funny, but they weren't great. It was hard to get through this show. I dozed off more than once and had to go back and rewind. And not because I was super tired, because it just wasn't super entertaining. Yeah, and like, 2 things. Like, one, saying you spent all your millions of dollars on pussy and you will always spend all your money on pussy, that was some corny shit. And that was weird.
Speaking of corny.
That was going to be my segue. But yeah, I thought that was really corny and untrue. Like, nigga, you got bills and shit. And kids, you say you're putting through all these expensive experiences in schools. So I get it. It was an exaggeration, but that was really, really weird. Like, I'm not even knocking people who trick because that's your business. But to put it on blast that, hey, listen, I made millions and millions of dollars, but I spent all of it on pussy. And if I had to, I'll spend it all again on pussy. And that wasn't funny or cool. Like, that was really fucking weird. That was really fucking weird. And also weird, and I'm jumping around.
Yeah.
I got parents. And my parents taught me, you don't fight in front of white people. Boom! Slams the mic and walks away.
It wasn't a mic drop moment.
First of all, you don't slam dunk a microphone. You do it gracefully. That's how you mic drop, Chris Rock.
You gonna pick up the shit you drop on my floor.
she won't let me cook. I just be trying to chef up the pot, and she mad about me dropping a pen on the floor.
Niggas be throwing shit on your floor. What are
it
you
was
supposed?
a pen.
Like, what are you supposed to do? Like,
it was a pen. I didn't throw spaghetti on the floor.
Respect my house.
A pen?
I'm just fucking with you.
I'm over here cooking.
So cook then.
But then why
put
you throw
it
me
back
off?
on the grill.
No, I said the food is cold now. It's over.
Put it back on the grill. Keep it going.
That's not how you mic drop. That's number one.
No.
Number two, that was not a mic drop joke. I got parents, and my parents told me don't fight in front of white people.
Which is also problematic, but you know.
What? First of all, well, this would be third of all now. I don't believe that that's true. Second of all, whatever, just next point, that's not funny at all.
No, there was nothing funny about that.
And
for that to be the last line of the show, and for him to like make the point to drop his mic or to slam his mic, whatever you want to call it, yeah, that wasn't.
It's just weird and not funny. I don't understand. There were funny moments throughout the special. I'm not saying the special was trash.
Moments.
Yeah, no, there were funny moments, but that's what you ended with? You saved Will Smith to the end for that? It was funnier when you said, people ask me, does it hurt? It still hurts today. That was way funnier than my parents told me not to fight in front of white people. No, that was a whack-ass ending.
Yeah, it was. I thought that some of the jokes were stale. I felt like some of them were dated. And I understand that like he's been touring for a while now.
Yeah, but the OJ jokes.
The OJ jokes.
This is not 90 whatever.
Even the Kardashian sisters, like even joking about them to me today, I don't feel like it's as relevant as it was maybe 5 years ago.
Yeah. And a lot of the callbacks weren't good. Keep calling back to the free smoothie. Why would you get a free smoothie at an abortion clinic? That makes zero fucking sense. Why didn't you say a free abortion?
It would have been funny.
They put you on a date with another person's baby moms. They could have came up with mad other shit like a smoothie. What did that have to do with anything? Yeah. And then what was the other shit he kept saying? Oh, touche, my nigga. That wasn't funny either. Like you kept calling back to your daughter and the French language. Like touche is all you got. You could have said oui. Like I mean.
And here's the thing.
You could have had mad other shit to say.
I'm going to use someone
Was there another callback he said? Those are the main two, I think.
Those were the main ones, though. But I think
they were not good callbacks. And then I'm glad you got it out your system as a man. I know sometimes when you're angry, you want to call a woman a bitch. I get it. But that's it? That's all you got? 12 bitches? I was like really disappointed in that.
So
I don't care about him calling Jada Pinkett a bitch, but I don't know why it needed to be 12 times, especially if you're on tour. So you just needed to call her 12 bitches every night? It's weird. I'm not mad at it, but I don't understand it. Like, I think you should have focused on funnier jokes about her if you were going to talk about her. But
she basically used that moment to call back to why he was upset with her in the first place. And that's what I felt. I said on Hardly that I felt like that was petty. That was corny. I'm fine with the jokes and I'm fine with he was going to come out and he was going to say something about them. I don't even the fact that I know a lot of people were mad saying, oh, you know, he calls her out her name and whatever. And while I feel like, okay, he's directing a lot of his anger towards her and she's not the one who slapped him, I totally understand that he was going to get on there and he was going to speak about them and he was going to say negative things about them.
Sure.
So that wasn't shocking to me.
Oh, that's what we all wanted to hear.
That's what we were there for. That wasn't shocking to me. It was just the part where he like went like way back. Like he went further back than the slap. And it was like, oh, well, this is why, like basically this is why I don't like her. And I was like, but.
I think for context that was necessary.
Okay.
Because a lot of the people who tuned in and saw the slap didn't know about the prior incidents. Okay. And part of Will Smith's apology tour was like, this guy keeps fucking with my wife.
Okay.
And so, I'm not saying I agree. Again, I already gave my thoughts on his jokes, but I think that was necessary to paint the picture he was trying to paint. Mm-hmm. Because if you just tuned in and saw the slap, it's like, I don't know what just happened.
Right.
And so I think for him, he needed to contextualize the situation and explain how it got to its boiling point. I think he was trying to speak on both parties getting to their boiling point and how they got there. So her with the whole ban, Will not being nominated, the jokes dissing, whatever, concussion, and then Will with, the cheating allegedly or whatever.
Well, they say that they're in an open marriage, so there's.
Well, they haven't said shit until all of this happened, so that's another conversation.
Well, it had always been rumored that they were in an open marriage, and Will confirmed it in his book, I believe. So
sure, which came out after this situation.
Right, but it had always been. That's why I'm saying it had always been rumored that they didn't owe that to us to tell us that prior to the situation or anything like that.
It doesn't matter.
But I'm gonna take someone else's opinion. Not really. You're not taking their opinion, but I think this was a good way of putting it. So Van Lathan said that he felt like it was a bunch of contradictions.
Yep.
And I saw that.
Saying I'm not going to be a victim, but then acting like a victim.
Acting like a victim, or him saying that he loves his kids, but he doesn't like them, but then later on saying he likes his kids. Like, there was just a lot of him like saying things. Van ended up saying it was almost like he no longer knows who he is. So
someone else said the same thing. So
now he's writing these jokes, and there is just like a bunch of contradictions.
Someone else said that because of the trans jokes and some of the other things, that he seems to be lost and trying to find himself somewhere between Dave Chappelle and Kevin Hart.
I could see that.
And that he's trying to figure out which comedian he should be like. And so he's stuck somewhere between both of them.
I could see that. And then the other thing that was pointed out was that he is trying to, instead of just saying things, he said, "Oh, I like trans people," and then threw it to someone else to take responsibility for whatever negative things he said next.
Yes, I heard the same thing.
And I agree with the perspective of standing your shit. If you're gonna be a comedian of this caliber, someone that people look to really give us a show and really go there and really push boundaries. Are you pushing boundaries if you're pushing off the things that you want to say on other people? Like, you wanted to talk about trans people, and instead of you just speaking about trans people, you put it on your brother.
Yep.
Or you wanted to talk about rich kids and how you feel about them. Instead, you put it on your daughter.
Yep.
Like, it goes on throughout the entire thing.
Yes, it does.
The only thing I think he took responsibility for and took a stance on was paying for pussy.
Yeah.
And that's corny. That's whack to me. I just didn't care for it, and I really wanted to talk to you about it because I know that I've gone to stand-up shows before and not laughed at anything. I've also seen stand-up shows that I thought were really funny and really engaging and really intriguing. I think, again, you're there to push boundaries. You're there to kind of challenge social norms.
Yes. And
I just felt like a lot of it was dated, like the Lululemon talk and all of that. I just feel like that era, he sounds like someone who, was writing his jokes a long time ago and, didn't tune them up for today.
Right.
And that was frustrating to me because I'm like, well, even if you wanted to like age these jokes, you wanted to continue to use them, you could have tweaked things. Like, you could have talked about the fact you wanted to talk about the Kardashians, you wanted to talk about Robert Kardashian being a lawyer. Why didn't you instead of talking about OJ, why don't you tie in the fact that Kim Kardashian is trying to be a lawyer? Right. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't think that I'm the right person to critique any stand-up. But this was just where I was at. I was like, well, okay, but OJ?
Yeah, that OJ shit, I was like, all right, I gotta get up and take a walk or something, because I can't believe we talking about OJ and the original OJ shit today. Like, he didn't even say some new OJ shit. It was like,
he didn't even mention
that OJ shit.
He could have mentioned OJ, people talking about how OJ is Khloe Kardashian's dad.
Mad
he
shit.
Could have made that joke, and honestly, that joke would have been stale too, but it would have been a lot more current than the one he made
from the 90s. Yeah. No, I understand why you wanted to discuss it. I'm a big fan of comedy. I like stand-up a lot. I watch a lot of stand-ups. I own a lot of stand-ups. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not a lot, a decent amount I own, but I didn't think this was a good special. I think it was a good business move.
Of course. Oh, absolutely.
He knew he had to deal with Netflix. Mm-hmm. When all of this happened and people were trying to interview him and shit, he said, y'all not gonna get a word from me until I get paid. And I think
that's fair.
It was a great business move for both him and Netflix. Mm-hmm. Maybe it has zero replay value. Mm-hmm. I'm saying maybe somebody feels different, but it don't matter because he got paid. Mm-hmm. Netflix got paid. And Netflix accomplished what they wanted. They have great numbers for their first live event. And the new rumor is, it was said on a news program, but they said that off the back of this thing, and it happened right after, so Netflix must have already had this in the bag. Meaning it must have already been signed and ready to go. But there's some award show that Netflix is going to be streaming next.
Yeah.
That's the next move. So this was a great way to launch their live stream. Clearly, they're trying to compete with other people and get into a different field because they know what's happening with HBO Max and Disney Plus killing their subscribership. And so this was a smart move. And I think that's the focus. Like, forget about the comedy special. For me, the win for Chris Rock and Netflix was the business dealings.
Yeah, so they're gonna, it's the SAG Awards that's gonna start.
Saul was right.
You were right. That it'll start streaming.
We don't gotta tell the date. They didn't pay us.
Right. So, what I did want to point out that we did not talk about off pod or here yet is that there was an after show. The after show is not available.
Oh, okay.
The after show was only for that night.
Okay.
So I watched the after show and I thought.
So then that gives them breakout content if they choose to.
Exactly.
That's smart.
I have a feeling that will probably live somewhere on their YouTube. Netflix is a joke because they had all the signage for Netflix is a joke on there. So I figured that's probably where that's going to live. A lot of, even though I don't watch a lot of it, a lot of Netflix's comedy stuff lives on that YouTube channel.
Yes, it does.
Netflix is a joke. So
I didn't know they owned it.
Yeah.
I see it a lot when I look up comedy stuff, but I didn't know that they owned it. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's them. So, really quick, it was a panel of comedians,
okay.
It was a panel of, they weren't all comedians. Okay, so it was JB Smoove, it was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Dana Carvey,
okay.
David Spade, Yvonne Orji,
great name,
and Arsenio Hall. They were funny.
Yeah.
And I was very entertained. I laughed more watching this and watching them talk about his jokes or talk about, and they didn't totally talk about all of his jokes. They kind of would use the jokes he told to springboard into other conversations or tell their own jokes.
That's a great way to do an after show.
Yvonne Orji, I thought it was funny because she said, well, I think she's 35 if I'm not mistaken. She pointed out her age, but she was like, and I'm a new homeowner, and she's like, what he was talking about women needing the roof fixed. He was like, oh, she was like, oh, that completely resonated with me because that is absolutely true.
Right.
You know, she said something like, do you know how to clean gutters or something like that, she said.
Right.
Arsenio Hall, damn, I can't remember what the joke was, but there was something that the two white guys on the panel did not want to touch.
And he took it.
Like, he asked them the question, and they were like, and he was like, actually, I have a joke. And they were like, wait, you just asked the question so you could tell your own joke. And he was like, yes, actually, that's exactly why I did it.
Arsenio's not new to that.
Right. So I think they did a really good job at kind of bringing it all together.
That's a great way to do an after show.
It was really funny.
I don't like a lot of this after show and fake podcast shit that these companies are doing, but that sounds like a great way to do an after show.
After shows should be live, and here's why. So, because, okay, you're not going to care about this, and you probably didn't care about it when it was happening, but I think that this is a really good example of this. So, maybe about, I don't know, more than 10 years ago, MTV used to have a show called The Hills. The Hills used to have an after show. Like, all of a sudden, they randomly started doing this live after show, kind of like the way Bravo does Watch What Happens Live, where after their show, it's a daily show, and it comes on after whatever their nightly content, it comes on after their primetime content. So maybe it's a housewife show or Below Deck or whatever is on their roster. And Andy Cohen has guests, and he not only talks about the shows that just aired, but he also talks to guests about what's going on. They play games, they do all this stuff. Live after shows, to me, make the most sense. Mm-hmm. You want to catch people when they're in the moment.
Right.
And I guess it's hard because if you're not consuming content when it's streaming or when it's live, then it makes it tricky. But when you're talking about something that aired live, an after show is a perfect thing to do because people are there already.
Right.
You know, they're excited about it. You want to hear people talk about it.
And it's fresh on their mind.
It's fresh on their mind. I'm sure that's why they decided that they're not even going to leave it up there because they probably realized that the after shows, because Netflix does after shows for certain shows original content that they have.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know that anybody really watches them.
I mean, I'm not hip, so this is news to me.
Yeah, they do it for some of their shows.
Gotcha.
They do. But yeah, I thought it was really funny and I thought it was great. And I think that is, if you're going to have a show run, I would totally do the after show immediately after. And I think it works. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on this. I just, I thought it was okay. The same way you said it was okay.
Yeah, there wasn't nothing special about this special.
No.